Well, happy Mother's Day. There was a man who was walking along the beach and he tripped over this lamp. He picked it up and he rubbed it and his genie popped out. And the genie said, "You know the routine. You get 3 wishes, but it's been a busy week, so I'm just going to give you one." He says, "What do you want?" And the guy said, after thinking about it, he thought, "Well, I've never been to Hawaii. I've always wanted to go to Hawaii, but I'm afraid to fly. And so I can't fly. I can't use a plane. I get seasick in a boat, so I can't get there. Could you possibly make me a highway that could go all the way across the ocean to Hawaii so I could drive there?" And the genie says, "Well, that's going to be kind of tough because I don't think the pillars will reach to the bottom of the ocean." He said, "Pick something else." And so the man said, "I lived a long time, and during my lifetime, I have always had a difficult time understanding women." You know where we're going, don't you? I'm going to be in trouble. But so for my wish, I wish that I could understand women better, to know how they are feeling and what they are thinking. And the genie looked at him and said, "Do you want that to be 2 or 4 lanes?" I know I'm going to pay for that after service, but it was worth getting out now. But today we celebrate the special women in our lives, and hopefully none of them are going to come looking for me after the service. Seriously, though, we are so blessed to be able to celebrate the women in our lives on Mother's Day. Isn't this a wonderful day? Being a mother is a special thing in the life of a woman. Mother's a protector and disciplinarian and friend. She's a selfless, loving human being who sacrifices her needs for the needs of others, who's always giving of her knowledge and wisdom, who is always there for her kids or her family members as they need her. And as I was asking God to show me what He wanted me to speak on today, what He wanted this message to be about, He got me thinking about all the wonderful women. I prepared. All the wonderful women that He has brought into my life over the years. Said it wasn't going to be like this today. Let's stop and pray. Father, I pray for a calmness right now. I pray for you just to speak. May your message come out clearly. May it not be a stumbling block to that. But Father, speak and use me, I pray. Speak, open our hearts, open our ears, Father, so that we may hear you clearly. And we love you and thank you for what you're going to do. In Jesus' name, amen. So my mom was a really loving and caring and God-loving and serving mom. She would go out of her way to make sure that everybody had everything that they needed, even putting her needs on the back burner. She is the most compassionate person I have ever met. And I say is because even though she's not here on this earth anymore, she's in heaven right now. She is very much alive. And there's no doubt in my mind that someday I'm going to see her again. I can't wait to see her smile. I can't wait to get her arms around me again. My grandmother also was a strong, hard-working woman. She was quick with a funny remark or a story of the old days when things got really tough. Then there were the people that I would call mom figures in the church. And when I grew up, all these ladies who would jump into things, teaching Sunday school and making sure that during VBS we had all the cookies and punch that we could drink and eat. Everything ready for us. They did so much, and there's so much more that I could say about them, but we will not go into that. Then God blessed me even more. Sorry. Breathe. God blessed me even more by bringing Anna into my life. A woman who has always been there for me. We've walked through some really difficult times in our lives. We've had some losses in our families. But every day, she has inspired me to continue following God and to keep moving forward. As I say this, I have had the privilege of having a lot of really good, strong Christian women speak into my life. And there are many in this very church right now. I won't mention your names. I won't call you out, but who have spoken into my life, who have inspired me in so many ways. And I want to say thank you right now. Although today is a day set aside to celebrate the mothers in our lives and to thank them for all that they do and have done for us, I think we would be remiss if we didn't also celebrate the wonderful gift of godly women in our lives as well. There's this awesome passage that I found in Proverbs that will show us the qualities and characteristics of a godly woman. You probably already know this. It's Proverbs 31. It actually draws a mental picture for us, tells us what this godly woman looks like. Before we begin, I want to preface this study by saying this. Proverbs 31, a lot of women and girls use this to look and see how they can become this godly woman. Kind of like, this is the guideline for what I want to become. But if we looked at the first verse, which I did not put in there, and it's okay, it's actually this mother speaking to her son. King Lemuel, I don't even know who the guy is. It didn't really say who he was, but this mother is speaking to her son and saying, listen, I want you to understand this. This is the kind of woman that I want you to meet. This is the kind of woman that you need to look for and marry. So let's look, what is she saying? I want you to find a godly woman. So what is a godly woman? To answer that question, we're going to go to Proverbs 31. We're going to look at verse 10, beginning with, a wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. I got to calm down. Now I'm getting wound up a little bit. In other words, she's a woman who fears the Lord, right? And it says she's far more precious than jewels. She's rare. She's one of a kind. She's unique. She is someone that not only loves, but she fears the Lord. And she's someone who is honest and hardworking and trustworthy and wise. She's someone who is loyal and compassionate and generous and puts the Lord first in her life. This verse really spoke to me when I read it, not just as Lemuel's mother was describing this woman, the spouse that she wanted him to find, but it made me think of how all of us parents that have sons, this is the kind of woman that we want our sons to find, right? This is the kind of woman that we want our sons to marry, a good, godly woman. This was a woman who is honored, who is honest, hardworking, trustworthy, and wise, compassionate, and generous. But most of all, that feared the Lord. And that was the most important thing that Lemuel wanted for her son. Lemuel's mother wanted her son to find. Now we're going to find out what a godly woman is by looking at Proverbs 31. A godly woman is trustworthy. Verses 11 and 12 says this: her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. See, trust is an important quality, right? In every relationship, we need trust. It's the most important quality that we can have, right? I know as we have times where we counsel people as they're preparing to get married, one of the important things that we tell them is you've got to have trust in your relationship. And in this verse, we learn how her husband feels about her. We see that they have to have trust. It's one thing to say that we trust someone, but it's even more when we trust them completely from our heart. It has to be from the core that we trust them. When we say that we trust someone, really trust that they have our best interests at heart. It breaks down the walls of insecurity and doubt, and we know we can really rely on them when the troubles arise in our lives. Trust is a vital part of every relationship. So if a woman desires to please Christ, she must be trustworthy. People must know that she means what she says. She's true to her word and to her husband and to her family, and they can trust her. She is loyal. She is faithful. Having an honest character is necessary for godliness because a believer's honesty reflects the trustworthiness of God. Think about that word trustworthy for just a minute. What does it mean to you? To me, it means someone who is honest and reliable, someone I can depend upon always, in good times and in bad times. Someone who is there for me, who walks through life with me, and is ready to help me when I fall or when I stumble. Someone who I can cry out to when the troubles of life overcome me and makes me worry about what tomorrow may bring. Who does that sound like to you? Does that sound like a description of someone that we know? Someone who's always there for us? And he walks with me and he talks with me? Did we not just sing? And he tells me I am his own? That's our God. Always there for us. He is trustworthy. He is faithful. He has always been there for us. Always has been and always will be, right? So trustworthy. There are so many verses describing who this God that we serve is. In Deuteronomy 32:4, Moses described God as this, with these words. He is the rock. His works are perfect, and all his ways are just. A faithful God who does no wrong. Upright and just is he. Then in Psalms 89:14, we read these words. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne. Love and faithfulness go before you. Then finally in Numbers 23, we read this. God is not human that he should lie, not a human being that he should change his mind. Does he speak and then not act? Does he promise and not fulfill? Do you trust our God? I'm going to get everybody involved in this service now. Do you trust God in everything in your life? Hasn't he been faithful your whole life? Hasn't he helped you through some really difficult times? And guess what? We're all going to face troubles after today, maybe today. And we still trust him to help us through those times, right? Because that's who our God is. So a godly woman is trustworthy. The second thing that we read, a godly woman is hardworking. Verses 13 through 19 say this. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is just like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers the field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindles with her fingers. How many of you know what a distaff is? I bet Merlin knows, don't you? I had to look that up. I'm thinking, what is this thing? I had this picture of this woman holding this yarn up here. Is that right? I think that's what it is, this spindle in her hands as she's making. So this woman described is all of these things, does all of these things. She's a hardworking woman, not giving it a second thought because she's doing everything that was just described for her family, the people that she loves. As I was reading these verses, I saw my mom in all these things. And please forgive me if I keep referring back to my mom. It's Mother's Day, right? And I keep thinking of my mom. I picture my mom doing all of these things. I remember on Thanksgivings how many times she was up at 2 o'clock in the morning while the rest of us were sleeping. And she was cooking that big meal. And that was only one time. Every night she was the last person to bed, and she was the first person up in the morning, taking care of her family. And that really made me think, like, wow, you know what? She was a really strong, godly woman. I knew that, but reading these characteristics reinforced that for me. Made me say, wow, I really appreciate my mom. And I often told her that, how much I loved her and appreciated her. And I know she knows it. I knew that she knew it. But then we go to verse 14 again. Now, I've got to tell you something. This is really goofy. I was up at 2:30. Yes, I get up early too. I was up at 2:30 the other morning, and verse 14 said, she is just like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. And I took it out because I didn't want to be corny, but I thought, you know what? When us kids were upstairs in our bedrooms, she brought us food sometimes from as far away as the kitchen, but I took it out. I said that was something I thought of at 2:30 in the morning, and I took it out of there because I didn't want to be corny. But amazing things at 2:30 in the morning, what your mind goes through, right? Well, Paul contrasts hard work, which is a godly action, with theft, which is sin. Ephesians 4:28, he says this. Anyone who has been stealing must steal no longer, but must work doing something useful with their own hands, that they may have something to share with those in need. So a godly woman is a hard worker. So far, you got to keep me in line here. Trustworthy, and she's what? A hard worker, right? Remember those two things. If I point to you, you got to remember those things. So let's try it again. She is what? Hard worker. Okay. And she's also generous. Look at verse 20. It says, she opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. Her generosity reflects the generosity and graciousness of God. Being generous means giving of ourselves selflessly without expecting anything in return. You know, we're blessed people, aren't we? We are so blessed. God blesses us in so many ways. There are so many people in this church, though, who give of themselves, who give of their time and their talents, who give of the giftings that God has given them, has blessed them with. And I think of, just to mention a few, we think of like our Sunday school teachers who prepare all week long. Even if one student shows up in a class, it's worth it, right? We say that with the teens all the time as well. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. If even one teen shows up, it's worth it. And we think of like those who clean our church. You know what? This place does not look this good all the time. There's people who go out of their way, who spend real time here cleaning and making this place look good and smell good. We think of our worship teams who spend time during the week really practicing, picking out the perfect songs to go with the theme of the message, theme of the day. Our sound techs who work throughout the whole week just planning and making sure everything sounds right. Our camera people who make sure that we look good, which is a tough job when I'm up here, but it can be tough. And we think of the people in the buildings and grounds outside who keep this place. Pat is here all the time. I see her out here. She's setting the cameras off all the time on my phone, but she's out there weeding and making this place look good. It takes everybody working together, right? And it's just awesome to see people using the giftings that God has given them. So I want to thank you. There are so many more people that I probably haven't mentioned, and I apologize if I haven't. But thank you for giving of your time. Thank you for giving of the talents that God has given you, the giftings that He has given you. And may God continue to bless you as you give yourself for the kingdom, as you do everything that you do. So we have 3 things so far. A godly woman is what? Trustworthy, hard worker, and generous. Okay? We're going to find out that a godly woman is also dignified. Verses 25 and 26 says this. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. This means that she is demonstrating and radiating these qualities. In other words, they're a real part of her. A godly woman, these are real things about her. They're not superficial. She doesn't put on a show. She really believes everything. She's strong in her knowledge of the Lord. She teaches people through her life. And I used to say that witnessing to people was all about how I acted, But that's only part one. The other part is using our words, right? We need to tell people, use our words and tell people about Christ. It says she has clothed herself with strength and dignity. These are the outside things that people see about her. But her strength, so that she is a woman of character who tends to her responsibilities and makes wise choices. She has a great work ethic and a giving spirit. Her dignity refers to her being worthy of honor. In other words, she's always striving to reflect God's glory in how she acts. She handles her responsibilities and she shows reverence for the Lord in all things. And it says in there, we saw the part where she can laugh at days to come. It's because she has confidence. She's relying on God for the wisdom to guide her through every single day of her life. And it's this kind of attitude that fully depending on God that makes it so she is able to laugh at the days to come. She's not worried about tomorrow. You know, every time I'm standing here and another song just came to me. I don't worry about tomorrow. I just live from day to day, right? Those words are so powerful. We don't need to worry about what tomorrow brings. You know, his word tells us today has enough worry of its own. But why worry when we can pray? Why, another song. I thank him for that. He brings songs to us. He brings wisdom to us. But this woman laughs at the days because she's not careless. She is hopeful of what God is doing in her life and through her. She knows God is in control of her life and that he's got a great plan and he will show her day by day, and that all she needs to know. It's a picture of a hope-filled woman who's at peace. She's prepared and has been faithful to God, what God has given her. So, okay, we're up to 4. You ready? Here we go. A godly woman is what? Dignified. And okay, now we come to another one. She is nurturing. Verses 27 through 29 says this. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, and her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. To me, nurturing means to take care of, to feed and protect someone and help them to develop. A godly mother or a godly woman is not just someone who provides physical care, but emotional and spiritual care. We talked about our Sunday school teachers. We talk about many women in this church that you don't even know that you've made a difference in so many lives. Through VBS is one thing. We have so many people that they get excited about VBS, don't they, Anna? This is an amazing church. When we say the VBS signups are out there, people jump on that right away. And guess what? VBS is coming very soon. We're going to have a sign-up sheet out there in a couple weeks. Yep, it's way off in August, 12th through 16th. Look, I'm putting a plug out there for VBS already. But we're going to have VBS coming at us very quickly. But think about what this woman does. She teaches our kids about Jesus. And what is more important than teaching our kids about Jesus, right? Oh, nope, nobody's awake. We need to teach our kids about Jesus, don't we? Yeah. Let's get excited about that. Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. She says, yes, keep on saying that. I love it. Can you have her come up here too? You know, we talked about how verse 28 says, her children rise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. See, our kids are like sponges, aren't they? They pick up everything. Sophia's probably picking up a lot of things. Well, she will. Elliot, I know, has. We all know that kids pick things up quickly. And what they see and what they learn from us is important. What better thing can we show our kids than that we love the women in our lives, our wives, that we honor and respect them, who they are. Our kids need to see and hear Hear us as we praise our wives instead of tearing them down. Men, I'm speaking to all of us, right? This hits us. So many men in this world are just tearing their wives down. We need to tell them, we need to teach our kids and show them through our actions that we love our wives. Let's impress this kind of behavior, an attitude of respect into the lives of our children so that they may become adults. They will carry that on as well when they become adults. And they'll love and respect those around them. And then we can sum it up. We're going to go for the quiz again. Are you ready? We're up to 5. Are you ready for this? Let's try it again. Number 1 is trustworthy, hardworking, generous, and nurturing. Who got all 5? Yeah. Who wrote them down? Let's see if you write the 6th one down. The most important one of all. A godly woman fears the Lord. Verse 30 says this. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. The fear of God is what motivates godly behavior in women and men alike. Now, think of that word fear. Does that mean we're scared to death? That's not what it means here. It means we stand in awe of him. We stand in awe. We revere or we respect. Boy, say those words 3 times fast. Fear means to stand in awe. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord, who reveres, who respects, who is in awe of the Lord is to be praised. Solomon, a godly woman, understands, as Solomon wrote in Proverbs 1:7, these words, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." Ladies, let me encourage you in those things today. We're going to go through the list one more time because now we have 6. That was the last one. Let's encourage you in these things to live like this godly woman in the midst of the culture that we live in today, the pressures that you face, the things that you deal with every day. Okay, we're going to say this. Are you ready? We're saying that a godly woman is what? 1? Trustworthy. Hardworking. Generous. What was the 4th one? There we go. 5th one? And 6th? Fears the Lord. Fears the Lord. Is in awe of the Lord. Respects him and loves him with all of her heart. That's who a godly woman is. Now, ladies, I'm going to speak for the men of our church when I say this. Thank you for being a godly woman. Thank you for being who God created you to be. Thank you for living out your faith in front of us, guys, because, guys, we can be hard-headed sometimes, right? And we need that strong Christian woman beside us to remind us of how good God is. Uh-oh, there's some elbows going on down there. I'm not watching any of that. But thank you for being a wonderful example of Jesus in your life, in our lives. We can see that he's alive in you, and that encourages us men. And thank you just for being you. Thank you for being the mothers. Thank you for being the grandmothers we talked about. Thank you for being the aunts and not uncles. Thank you for being the Sunday school teachers. And thank you for everything that you do, not only in this church, but out in this world. Thank you for using the abilities and the talents and the gifts that God has given you to make a difference for Jesus in this world.